Good evening and welcome to the closed session special meeting of the Agoura Hills City Council of Wednesday, March 27, 2024. Welcome to the Agoura Hills City Council closed session. Please silence all cell phones and other electronic devices. If you wish to speak or submit a written comment related to the closed session item on this agenda, please complete and submit a comment card to the city clerk prior to the public comment portion of the meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order, and I'll defer to our city clerk for a roll call.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Councilmember Anstead?
Here.
Councilmember Lopez?
Here.
Councilmember Wolf?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester?
Here.
Oh, yeah. She's here, but she should say herself. Mayor Buckley Weber? Mayor Buckley Weber, you have a quorum.
To speak on items listed on the agenda. If you wish to distribute something to the City Council, please do not approach the council dais. Hand your item to our city clerk, and she will distribute to us on your behalf. Public testimony is limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and a speaker's time may not be transferred to another speaker. Persons addressing the City Council shall not engage in disorderly conduct that disrupts or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting. I will now defer to the city clerk.
Thank you. No written public comments have been received and no speaker cards have been submitted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll now recess into closed session. Hills City Council of Wednesday, March 27, 2024, 6 p.m. Welcome to our meeting. Please silence all cell phones and other electronic devices. If you wish to speak or submit a written comment, please complete a comment card for each item and submit to the city clerk prior to the public comment portion of the item. I'm now calling tonight's meeting to order. And for the first time, we're doing a land acknowledgement. The city of Agoura Hills acknowledges that we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Chumash Nation. Descendants of Chumash still remain, and we honor and pay our respects to their elders and various groups that make up the past, present, and emerging as they continue their stewardship of our lands and waters. We have a responsibility and commitment to elevate the stories, culture, and community of the original inhabitants of the city of Agoura Hills, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these ancestral lands. I'm now going to defer for the Pledge of Allegiance to Girl Scout Troop 176.
Good evening. We are Troop 176. Will the audience please rise? Color Guard, advance. Those not in uniform, please raise your right hand over your heart. Please say the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Color Guard, post the colors. Color Guard dismissed. The audience may be seated. Thank you, and thank you for having us.
We always appreciate having you here, so thank you so much for coming in and helping us with it.
Thank you.
We'll see you hopefully once again in the next month or two. Thank you. I'm now going to defer to the city clerk for a roll call vote.
Good evening. Councilmember Anstead?
Here.
Councilmember Lopez?
Here.
Councilmember Wolf?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester?
Here.
Mayor Buckley Weber?
Here.
Mayor Buckley Weber, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Let's see. We are now we had a closed session meeting, but we have nothing to report. So approval of the agenda. Will the maker of the motion and second to approve the agenda state your names?
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester moves to approve the agenda.
I'll second. Deborah Klein Lopez.
And I'll call for Madam Clerk to do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Anstead?
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber, you have approval 5-0.
Thank you very much. Well, next on the agenda was a presentation to Blue Table, Gina Marcioni, but I don't see her here. Am I missing her? So I'm going to come back to that. Let's give her a little more time and see if she makes it. If not, I'll go ahead with the presentation and we'll deliver it to her. Let's go on to Intergovernmental Special Purpose Committee and departmental reports. Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy Advisory Committee, our meeting was postponed to April 8th, so I don't have a report. Any reports from staff? Any reports from the City Council? Thank you very much. We'll now move on to public comments. This section is reserved for persons wishing to speak on items not listed on the agenda that are under the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. If you have something to distribute to the City Council, please hand it to our City Clerk and do not approach the dais. Public testimony is limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and a speaker's time may not be transferred to another speaker. Persons addressing the City Council shall not engage in disorderly conduct that disrupts or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting. I will now defer to our City Clerk.
Thank you. We did not receive any written public comments. We do have one speaker card for Jody Reagan.
Thank you. Come on up, Ms. Reagan.
Guess why I'm here.
And I think you've been here enough that you know that you have 3 minutes and that the lights will kind of guide you down that road. Thank you.
Are they on?
It'll come on.
Oh.
You can go ahead and start.
Hi, my name is Jody Regan, and I'm here to promote the Nature Made Great Race. Yes, we have a new title sponsor this year. This community event takes place through Oak Park and Agoura Hills. As you may know, the Great Race is actually 6 races: a half marathon, a 15K, a 10K, a 5K, a 1-miler, and a 10.3 triple challenge. There is something for everyone. I am pleased to say that this is our 39th year of this event and the 39th year of this event supporting the schools in Oak Park and Agoura Hills. More than $1.7 million has been donated so far, and our newest community partner is Food Share. We've been donating to them since 2020. This race brings thousands of people to the area, and not just runners. They come from all over, they stay, they shop, they eat locally. Each race ends at the finish line located at the Giant Expo in Shumash Park, which is consistently rated the best, and it's free. But this huge event could not possibly take place without almost 500 spots being filled by over 300 volunteers. And we need people covering water stations, course monitors. These are just a few. Our volunteers consistently have fun while helping with this community-wide event. So I am signing up volunteers for race day, which this year is Saturday, April 13th. But we also need volunteers at one of our sponsors, Roadrunner Sports in Newbury Park, a couple days ahead of time to give out race packets to the runners. We're looking for teens and adults. Teens earn community service credit. And each volunteer gets a free t-shirt to wear while volunteering and to keep. You can volunteer on your own with a family member or with a friend or with a group. Some of our many groups this year are Farmers Insurance, Boys and Girls Club, Conejo Valley Lions Club, Bank of America, Rotary Next Gen, and many student groups and clubs. National Honor Society from Oak Park High, El Camino Real, Calabasas. Agoura High's Key Club is with us this year, as was students from Thousand Oaks, Westlake, and Newbury Park High Schools. This is just the name of a few of so many. Our runners really thrive on the energy of our volunteers. So I'd like to invite the City Council and our entire community to volunteer. We just need you for a couple of hours, especially in Old Agoura. Just come outside your house. That might be a spot in front of your house. To volunteer, you can go directly to our website at thegreatrace.volunteerlocal.com. That's thegreatrace.volunteerlocal.com. Or if you're inclined, please run. There's still time to register at greatrace.run. That's greatrace.run. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the work that you've been doing for decades now for the Great Race.
Love it.
Thank
Love
you.
it. Thank you.
Let me just check. Give me that website one more time. greatrace.volunteerlocal.com.
To register to volunteer, it's thegreatrace.volunteerlocal.com. To run is greatrace.run.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
you guys.
And good luck.
Thank you.
Now, before we move on to the consent calendar, we're going to go back to the presentation to Business of the Month. I'm going to come over here. Hello, can you hear me? It's so good to see you, and it's my great pleasure, and I'm honored to be giving the March Business of the Month Award to Blue Table. March is National Women's History. March is National Women's History Month, and I wanted to celebrate a local business, woman-owned business that has made an impact to our community. It didn't take me long to pick Blue Table as this month's recipient. Owner, Gina Marcioni. Come on up. Did I say that right? Yes. Oh, good. Who I consider to not only be a business partner for the city, but a dear friend of the city as well. When we need sandwiches for an event, Gina always comes through. Gina studied architecture before moving to Italy in 2000. In 2004, she moved back to LA, where her and her family opened their first restaurant location in Calabasas. In 2009, they expanded the deli to Agoura Hills in the Wizen Center, and in 2013, the Wine and Cheese Bar was open. When asked why Agoura, Gina says, originally, Bill Tucker suggested opening in Agoura. He was a regular client in Calabasas and encouraged her to move to Agoura. Thank you, Bill. That's 2 restaurants now, Plata and Blue Table. Gina's also a resident of Agoura Hills, so opening in Agoura Hills is somewhat of a homecoming. This year, Blue Table will be celebrating its 15th year in business in Agoura Hills, which is a wonderful milestone. I personally saw Gina pivot during COVID, and she worked incredibly hard to keep her business open for the community. I can't remember a time that I've gone to Blue Table and you weren't there, hard at work. Gina notes the inspiration behind the menu is big city flair for small town Agoura. It's the love of food, cheese, wine, and great company that keeps her passionate. Be sure to go there and try Blue Table Sangria. Blue Table makes some of the best sandwiches and salads in town. They offer pizza and items to go from a deli case as well. They also do catering, and it's really fun to sit at the wine bar and watch Gina make these massive cheese boards to perfection. Whoops. It's really something. They're huge. They also offer live entertainment on Wednesday evenings. I remember early on going to listen to former Mayor Dan Cooperberg's son entertain there. Gina, it's an honor to present you with this certificate for the Mayor's Business of the Month for March of 2024. Thank you for your service to the community. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure, I'm so honored. Thank you so much. And it has been 15 years, I can't believe it. And I remember moving into Wizen Center, and there was more tumbleweed in the parking lot than cars. And it's just evolved into this incredible area, the vibe of the outdoor dining. And it really is kind of this like large city vibe in rural Agoura. And I'm so happy to provide an amazing wine list that, you know, it's not snooty, but all these beautiful cheeses, catering that acts like a concierge service, that you can bring a giant board in and I'll just fill it up with cheese and charcuterie. So yeah, I love being there every single day. I love talking to customers. I see Jeff out there in the audience, and you know, I just love being involved, and I love living in Agoura Hills as well. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gina.
I'm going to get going because we have a live jazz trio happening right about now. But thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming tonight. It's hard to drag people away from their businesses. Good, thank you.
Before you go, Madam Mayor, would you mind if I shared one story real quickly? So you remember in March 2020 when the whole world was shutting down, and we realized that like we were really actually the whole world was shutting down, and it felt like the apocalypse was coming. My husband and I, we didn't go to the store and buy toilet paper. We didn't do anything like that. We went to Blue Table and we stocked up on like all these cheeses and wine. And so just know that like when the apocalypse is coming, I know where to go. I highly recommend it because that's what we stocked up on. So thank you for being there for us in our time of
Next time I'll put
need.
a roll of toilet paper on the wine bottle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hear me? Yeah, okay. Let's see. We're now moving on to the consent calendar. This section is reserved for persons wishing to speak on items on the consent calendar. I will now defer to the city clerk.
Thank you. We did not receive any written public comments, nor do we have any speaker cards.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the city council on the consent calendar, or would anybody like to pull an item? Okay, then I'll now call for a motion and a second to adopt the consent calendar.
This is Councilmember Wolf, and I'll make a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
Councilmember Chris Anstead, I'll second that.
Thank you both. Madam Clerk, can you please take a roll call?
Councilmember Anstead?
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester,
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber.
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber, you have approval, 5-0.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to move on to our discussion action. It's a discussion to receive and file a report for approval of waste management residential solid waste rate escalation increase, 3.0%, and consider a request from Waste Management for an additional solid waste rate adjustment for 2024. I'll now defer to Deputy City Manager Louis Salaya for the staff presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Weber, Buckley Weber, and members of the council. Good evening. This evening, staff would like to present to you the solid waste residential escalation for 2024, along with a request from WM for consideration of the solid waste rate adjustment. To provide some direction this evening, staff will cover the following during this presentation. We'll briefly review the franchise agreement and the escalation. We'll review escalation for curbside and residential bin services. We'll also look at the review of the solid waste rate adjustment request from WM. We will discuss the subcommittee's review with respects to the SWRA request and their recommendations. We'll provide recommendations and, of course, questions. As a recap, in 2016, the City Council approved a new residential franchise agreement with WM. The current agreement began on January 1st, 2017, and will conclude on June 30th, 2027, based on the agreement extension. As you are aware, within our franchise agreement, there is a provision for an annual rate increase that's allowed per the Consumer Price Index, commonly referred to as escalation. As you know, the agreement also contains rate protection language. As you're aware, our current agreement does afford us a rate protection language within the agreement. It provides the city the most competitive rate as the first city that issued WM a residential franchise agreement amongst the 5 cities in the area. The language, in essence, ensures that we have the lowest rate. As mentioned earlier, escalation reflects the change in the Consumer Price Index. For the 2022-2023 period, CPI was reported at 4.28%. Under the agreement, there is a 3% cap. Thus, the CPI adjustment for 2024 for the escalation will be 3%. The city's solid waste consultant, SWS, and staff have confirmed the CPI rates. Per the agreement, Waste Management is required to notify customers 15 days prior to the affected increase. The 2024 rates will go into effect in April of 2024, and the billing will reflect that adjustment. It should be noted that Waste Management will be issuing a retroactive billing starting from January through March. To review escalation for 2024, the mini can service, which is the 32-gallon trash, 64-gallon recycle, and 96-gallon yard cart, will see an increase of 63 cents. Due to rate protection language within our franchise agreement, the Level 1 and Level 2 service levels will not see an increase in 2024, and there will be some service option categories that will also not see changes. Other cart service levels will see increases ranging from $1.71 to $1.96, and that's depending on the service category that's selected by the resident. Our multifamily complexes, which are condos and townhomes, will see an increase of 49 cents to 72 cents, once again, depending on the service level they use. The valet service rate for our multifamily complexes will see an increase to $17.49 per the council's agreement with WM proposal to phase in the increase to $20 over 3 years. This slide, I will show you how the mini can service level 1 will change per CPI. As you can see, the current rate is $21.14 plus the CPI adjustment that would put the rate at $21.77 for 2024. For our multifamily complexes, the rate will increase by 72 cents, bringing that total to $28.46. Additionally, the valet service, as you see, will go from $16.23 to $17.49. For the residential service, bin service level, which is the 3-yard bin service once a week, there will be a $3 increase per CPI. This is the most common service used per WM, and this is for our equestrian area residents. Other residential bin services will see increases ranging from $5.53 to $15.63. It should be noted that many of the services are for more frequent service pickups and larger service bins, which equates to more trash disposal. As in the prior example, this is how CPI will affect the crate for 2024. As you can see, the current service for the 3-yard bin serviced once a week is $100.16, plus $3 for CPI brings it to a total of $103.16. Now I'd like to review the solid waste rate adjustment request. Per the agreement, the solid waste rate adjustment is permitted and allows the company to request increases beyond CPI as it relates to operation costs. This request is not automatic, and as the CPI adjustment is. The council will have the ability to approve or not approve the request. As reflected in the presentation, this is the 5th consecutive year that WM has asked for a solid waste rate adjustment. For 2024, the Public Works Subcommittee was asked to review this solid waste rate adjustment request. City staff met with the Public Works Subcommittee on January 29th to review the solid waste rate adjustment request, and at the conclusion of the meeting, the subcommittee asked for a few days to go back and consider the recommendation. And on February 6th, the subcommittee returned with the following recommendations: to approve the SWRA request, but only at an additional 2%, and also to have the solid waste rate adjustment still be subject to the rate protection language. Future solid waste rate adjustment requests will be conditional upon the following deliverable items in 2024. They are a better SB 1383 organic recycling outreach effort, a minimum of 2 organic recycling ads in the local paper, the Acorn, cleaning up of some mixed messaging related to organic recycling, for example, the bag or no bag, what are permitted items in the organics cart. Continue to promote the senior discount, also easy information location and registration access on the WM website. Continue the rollout of this new state-mandated cart coloring for refuse, recycling, and green waste, and quarterly reports regarding outreach progress and color cart switchover to staff. The subcommittee felt in an effort to be fair and considering the prior SWRA request that had been approved, they felt that Waste Management operates is a very good provider, but they believe continued improvements can occur. With respect to the solid waste rate adjustment request, Waste Management is requesting additional increases in response to landfill tipping fees at the Simi Valley and Recycling Center, as identified in the County of Ventura notices to WM that were in the staff report. For 2024, there will be a 5% increase in the gate rates at the landfill from the rate in 2023. The rates are set by Ventura County and the site is owned and operated by WM. Additionally, Waste Management is identifying a 48% increase for recycling processes and additional costs for organics. If the SWRA is approved at the subcommittee's recommendation of 2%, this would be in addition to the CPI that was already shown earlier. As reflected on the slide in front of you, for curbside service, this would equate to either to 44 cents to $1.35 per month increase depending on the service level used. For the multifamily complexes, this would equate to either 34 cents to 66 cents increase, once again, depending on the service level. For residential bin service, this would equate to a $2.06 to a $10.73, again, depending on the service level that is selected. As in the previous slide, I will show how the SWRA impacts the current rate. As you can see, the current rate for the curbside mini can will see an additional 44 cents added, bringing the total to $1.80 to $1.07 added to the entire rate. For the multifamily complex, an additional 72 cents is added, bringing the total to $1.22. As a reminder, this does not include the valet service fee that is also added to the multifamily complexes, which is $17.49. Finally, the residential 3-yard trash bin service once a week, there will be a $2.06 added, bringing the total cost to $5.06. The residential yard bin service, once again, is the most common service used per Waste Management. Staff would also like to identify some highlights and some of the accomplishments Waste Management has performed in 2023. Currently, we have a 54.3 cent residential diversion rate over the past 3 years. Per AB 939, every city should be above 50%, and on an average, we're at 53.43 over 3 years. That means our rates are increasing. Our overall city diversion is 62.1%. They were very successful in transitioning the residential HHW e-waste collection program to a monthly program, and year-to-date, they've done 168 collections. They have registered an additional 726 seniors to the senior discount program. Per Waste Management, that was a 129% increase. They've responded and removed to 48 illegal dumping reports. These are the reports that we will receive on See Click Fix, or we get calls about people who leave items on the street. If our Public Works contractor is unable to pick that up, then Waste Management will come by and pick it up. And I will tell you, majority of the time, it is WM that is picking up these illegal dumpings. Additionally, they provided several organic recycling outreach assets. I think we had 11 total, and we've put up several, and we'll be using them out throughout the year. And we are expecting additional ones in 2024. They were also present for the education outreach at the 2023 Reyes Adobe Days. At this time, staff is respectfully recommending that the City Council receive and file the report for the solid waste escalation increase of 3% for the solid waste services for 2024, and to review the recommendations from the Public Works Subcommittee and provide direction to staff on the additional solid waste rate adjustment requests being submitted by WM. This concludes my report. Myself, along with the solid waste consultant and the Public Works Subcommittee, are available to answer any questions you have, and I believe our representatives from Waste Management are also here in attendance tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Celaya. That was really a good presentation, made it very clear. So let's start with questions. Does anybody have questions to Mr. Celaya? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, my question is, I know we have a favored city clause so that we can't be charged more than other waste management cities. How does that compare with other hauling companies?
Some hauling companies, in my discussions with our solid waste consultant, some cities do have rate protection language, but with respects to WM and our city, as we were the first to issue them a franchise agreement amongst the cities in the area, I think not including Malibu, we will have the lowest rate. And that's the reason why you see in the presentation some of the rates don't change, because there may be one city that has a rate that's lower than ours. So in essence, if the CPI doesn't kick it over or keeps it under, and the other city is comparable as higher, then that increase doesn't occur. So rate protection language does that for us.
Good. I appreciate that you got that into the contract. And also, different companies, are they doing the same increases across the board?
I think you are seeing similar increases, but not per CPI. Every hauler, every contract is different. Some haulers use landfill tipping fees. It's part of a contract that's negotiated where they will use a portion of what is disposed of versus what isn't. I know a couple of cities that use CPAP, but majority of the companies will use a landfill tipping fee. I don't favor that, and here's the reason why, and I'll be honest. And I have discussions we have had with our staff. We don't control what happens at the landfills. We don't. It's relied on numbers that are coming from the haulers taking it to the landfill. There's no way for us to validate that. I am a firm believer in cost of living, CPI. It's fair. If we see a cost of living increase, then they see it. If we don't see one, if we see a negative, they see it. Everyone kind of shares the same. But on the flip side, I do believe you must give companies an ability to recover. It's just up to individual cities to decide how they want that covered. For our contract, we cap it at 3%. That's why the request comes to you each year.
Great. So we can reassure our residents that we're getting a really good.
You are probably getting the lowest rate amongst the cities in this area.
Thank you. I just wanted to verify that for our listeners. Thank you.
Councilmember Anstead?
Yes, to follow up on Mayor Pro Tem's questions, one of the things I wanted to ask you, Louis, is concerning the cost increase of the 63 cents for the 3% CPI. I know down the description you also stated that for the most common residential service, which is level 1, that based on this whole thing comparison with the cities, that there would be no rate increase for that.
Yes, the 2023 rate would now carry over into 2024 because of the rate protection language.
Okay, so that's good to know. So even though that rate is listed in your thing, the majority of the
yes
residential one.
I think the staff report reflects the current 2023 rate. When we look at the 2024 rate, it's the same rate.
It's the same rate. Okay, good to know.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councilmember Wolf?
Yeah, I should know this because I was in the committee, but if you could just refresh my memory. If this does go into effect, what is the timeline of when it would be implemented? And then it would retroactively, so everyone's bill would go up for the next month? Or is it, I forgot, an incremental adjustment for the retroactive? Or is it a one-time?
It normally is a one-time. Waste Management would identify in their letter to the affected residents that there is going to be a rate increase. And then in that, usually it depends, and Waste Management runs on a bi-monthly cycle billing process, and I think their most recent billing has already gone out, and they can correct me if I'm wrong. So it would be in the next billing cycle, so they would go back and retroactive from what would have been the January through up until that next billing cycle.
And this might not be a question for you, but it might be for the folks at Waste Management. Will that be clearly outlined that this is retroactive? And I know we discussed this, but I just want to repeat it, that it will be this is retroactive and this is not what every bill will look like?
Yes, we can have the representatives of Waste Management modify the letters to do that, and I can let them answer that as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Lopez?
Thank you. That was part of my question, was about the retroactive billing. And to follow up on that, is this usually the way it works? Is it usually a retroactive? Okay. Okay, great. I don't remember that in my bills, but I believe you. And then my next question, and I'm not sure if it's for Mr. Celaya or maybe for the subcommittee, is last time you were here, we got a lot of letters and commenters about the valet service in particularly in Annandale. And this time we didn't get any. So I'm wondering things are calm there, or what's transpired since the last meeting?
I can answer that question. Waste Management has worked with the HOA board there. There is now organic implementation. So each of the separate, I think there is 4 or 5 separate areas. So each area has their own set of, or it's got to be a cart. And so they have implemented organics, and it is currently in process. So that issue is now, in our mind, it's closed.
Okay.
It has been resolved by Waste Management and the HOA there. They came to an agreement to have that service available.
Great. So that's the organic piece, and then about the increase of the valet service, they're comfortable with. I know you said it's going to $17.49, and I'm not sure where it's going after that, but there was a large jump, if I recall, and so are they aware, and in conversation, do they know what's coming?
With respect to if they know it's coming, that I'm not sure of. I know the one gentleman that was a vocal opponent against it, he was here when you folks, I believe, agreed to the proposal to phase it in. So whether that individual remembers that I couldn't say, but Waste Management might be able to answer that question.
Do you have an idea of how that's going to?
Well, when we have the public hearing, they can come up and answer those questions.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And then my last question is also for them, so I'll wait.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Celaya? Okay, then we will move on. Let's see here. I'll now defer to this. We're going to move on to the public comment. I'm sorry, but it's not a hearing, and so are we? Are they speaking as part of public comment?
The representatives of Waste Management, I think they're here to answer any questions you have, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I apologize for that. Then, so why don't we have Justin, do you want to start? Come on up.
You want me to ask my question again?
Sure.
Okay. So my question is about the valet service, because there was a lot of conversation about, do we need it? And yes, we do, and this and that. And so I've spoken with our staff, and I understand why we need the valet service and that we don't have a lot of options in that tight space. So my question for you is, I remember the rate of the increase was alarming to us. And so I see that the 1749 that it's jumping to is what we agreed upon, but what is your thoughts on where that might go from there? Is it going to be, kind of incremental like that, or do you expect that we're going to be back in the same boat with some harder pills to swallow there?
So, Councilmember Lopez, to answer that question, when we came the last time, we broke that down into phase, and so those prices are called out. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think it goes to 2026, that it can't pass $20, I think it says in there. Sorry, I don't have all my notes with me, but it's called out. So what they get, but I'll put a highlight there. I mean, there's 292 homes in that area that was reserving the right to have valet service. And when we attended HOA meetings and working with the property management and the HOA, they still wanted those carts. There were some individuals speaking out on behalf of the whole community, and that wasn't necessarily the case. Out of 292 homes, there's 8 people that opted out of it. And they've had all the rights to say we want to stop service. But to me, that's a success story to going in there. And we put a lot of work into working with Annandale and Lewis as well. And we had meetings right here at the city. We worked in partnership. They had a major turnover of multiple different HOA management teams. And so we really went in there and put boots on the ground. We put 13 locations in there where we're servicing and put the organics in there. And we really went out and marked curbsides and logistic plans, and I think it's a success story, in my opinion, on working something that was challenged that came out to be a positive.
That's amazing. Those are great numbers. Thank you. And then my second question for you is about the senior rates, and also amazing increment, and I know it's part of the continued outreach. And so my question for you is, how do you outreach to the seniors?
So we have different things that are going out with new messaging, and we've also identified it on some past messaging as well. They call in, you have different laws that, when someone calls in, you can't essentially, what's your age, right? So, but we lead into that conversation. We never tell anyone no. And again, back to the success story, I mean, I think it was 790 some odd customers to a physical year. That was all a result of the partnership with the city, Lewis, the team, marketing team, to put that messaging out. And in 2024, the message is going to continue. We've also had some strategy conversations with your team on how we can make it even easier for when you go into our site, it will link you to your site, vice versa. And so really just kind of getting in front of it and putting the collaboration together, and we're going to continue that messaging.
Okay, and have you worked with Amy Brink, our Community Services Director, with all the senior programs we have as a good place to be advertising that?
I'm going to reflect to Denise, who handles day-to-day with Agoura and Luis. Have you guys worked and back with staff?
And Councilmember Lopez, I can answer that.
Okay.
We have put ads in the community and the
Great.
senior with the community services.
Great.
We'll continue to do that. And
Okay.
just so for the benefit of for full council and to help Justin out, with respect to the valet fee, what you agreed upon was an incremental to $20. So current fee right now is $16.23. This year it'll be $17.49. The following year, next year, when we do escalation again, it'll be $18.75, and then the final year it'll be $20. That was something that you agreed upon.
Great, thank you for that reminder.
Thank you. Any further questions from, Mayor Pro Tem?
Good evening, Justin. When you're going to be sending out a billing increase letter to all customers, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you send out that letter, could you include in that information about the senior discount? Because I think people are going to read that letter, and so seeing that you're also offering the senior discount there will really help get the word out. So if you could include that, that would be wonderful. And the other question I have for you is the outreach for the organics. I have so many people come up to me and say, well, I called into Waste Management and they told me not to bag it, just to put it straight into the green bin. And I keep saying, no, it has to be bagged. That is correct.
Absolutely has to be bagged, and I highly encourage, if anyone on council or staff receives a call from a resident that states that, please get their address. We have state-of-the-art systems that we pull calls, and we're able to hear exactly what's said, because, I mean, our messaging has been pretty darn consistent of has to be bagged. It has to be bagged. And going back and looking at all the pieces that we put out last year, there was nothing that was contrary to that statement. So to me, love to get those calls because, us, we can only do good if we, if a mistake happens, we recover quickly, right? But I can tell you that I've received some that someone will state that and I get that address, and that's not necessarily how the conversation went. And we also will send something out to a customer if they call in with a question. We can go. I personally went in with Denise and worked on Agoura Hills specifically with what we call a hot sheet. So when someone calls in, right on the hot sheet, first thing, organic must be bagged.
Right, well, this was like just a couple of weeks ago, and they were told don't. So, and maybe that could also go out, because when you send out a rate increase, everybody reads it. So maybe you could have a small, information about the organics as well.
I will work with the team and see what we can get.
And then one final question. And you were going to change the cart colors eventually?
We're rolling that out in a phased process to
Right.
where there's not a cost increase. As you can imagine, the cost for their receptacles and the labor that we're working out a rollout process. When someone calls in for a cart replacement, if something's damaged or a new homeowner may take place, they're automatically being replaced with the new colors.
Well, I had mine replaced a couple of months ago, and all they did was change. Everything's now black with different lid colors. So they're not different cart colors.
So to answer your question, that's standard through the state of California. The body is one color and the lid is a separate color.
Okay, so that's how it's going to be. Everything black, it's just the lids.
Yes, ma'am.
When we say color-coded lid.
And our new,
it's just lid.
and all our marketing outreach shows those new cans on there as well, so people are able to put a picture to the situation.
And I would like to say, I think the increase this year of 129% in the senior discount is wonderful, but I would like to credit our city staff because they have really been plugging that, and I think we can see the difference it's made.
We have a great relationship with staff and like to, put that out there publicly that, your city staff is great and they do a great job and we have great collaboration and conversation, and I'm looking forward to going into the next year, and you will see next year another highlight with great success on there.
Thank you.
Great. Councilmember Anstead?
My questions were answered.
Thank you. I have a question for you. What happens if you don't put your organic waste in a bag?
So we have onboard cameras that are on all our trucks, and that's part of monitoring requirements with SB 1383. And so when we go and we do route reviews in a timely manner to make sure contamination, different things, we see that and we spot that of a habitual offender, we'll go and make outreach with them. That is something that's actually required for the facility that we use for their permitting. So we take it very seriously, and we'll go out and make contact and have a friendly conversation and explain why it needs to be bagged, and we'll go that route.
And why does it need to be bagged? If
It's
you
the
could
way
explain that to me.
For sure. So it's the way the processing facility, their permitting takes place, so what can hit the ground, what can't hit the ground, and it's all based on sciences and different portions that go in there. And for us, the facility that we go to and the way that they process the material, they have to take it and it then goes to another conveyor belt, to a ripping. It's a whole process, and I would definitely be happy to take anyone on council for a tour and really go through and where everyone can see the process, especially the recycling facility. I know some on council have been out to our facility, but I encourage you to come again. Since then, we put robotics in and all different things. I mean, we take a lot of pride of being the #1 recycler in the world, and that's really by putting new technology that a human eye can't technically detect. So it's different phases to ensure that we're taking the max diversion that we can. So I'd love to take you out for a facility, Mayor Weber, where you can see
I'm
it.
coming in I think next week sometime.
But organic facility as well,
April 3rd.
happy.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Councilmember Wolf?
What will the specific language say about the rate increase? Is it say that's like on behalf of the city council, or is it just a canned letter or language? I think that's a Lewis.
The letter usually indicates that per the agreement, they're allowed to have an increase, and then it identifies, it's a standard letter, and we usually see it before it goes out. But it doesn't say the city council is granted. It just says per the agreement with the city, your rate will increase per the current agreement, and then it identifies what that will be.
Thank you.
And as a follow-up, if you get your bill electronically, is it somewhere on the bill?
It's stated the same way. The same messaging goes out electronically.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Thank you very much for
Thank
coming,
you guys for your
all of
partnership.
you.
Thank you.
Now we can move on to deliberations. So let's start with you, Councilmember Lopez. Or you know what, Councilmember Wolf, since you were on the subcommittee, do you want to start?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. And I thank everyone involved in this. It's been a kind of a long process, and I appreciate the conversations with Waste Management. As Louis did note that the initial rate that was proposed to us, we discussed it, and we decided to go back with something else and include some performance reviews, which I thought was really fair, and appreciate the staff working with on that. You know, raising rates on anything is really tough for residents, but also for Waste Management. I mean, their costs are going up tremendously, and the dumping fees are so high, and fuel fees, and just everything. So to find this balance, I think, was a long process, and I'm proud of the work the city did. I commend Louis for it, and I think the mayor's work on this on the committee, and I feel comfortable moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lopez.
Thank you. I first want to say thank you to staff, Louis in particular. As Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester said, you know, a lot of this is easier for us up here now because of the hard work that everybody's put in when we redo these contracts and extend them and this and that. So I want to thank you for all your hard work, not only on this, but over the years to have such a solid contract. So I am absolutely in favor of moving forward with the 3% and also the subcommittee's recommendation of the 2% on the conditional. I will say that I also see, you know, some confusion still about SB 1383 and, you know, bag, no bag, and all of that kind of information going out. And so I will do a better job of making sure that that gets to you. I'll ask people for their, you know, specifics so I can pass that along to you. But there is still so much confusion, and I don't see a lot of advertising on that. So I appreciate that we've built that into our expectations and also, you know, our rate adjustments. So thank you. And then the same thing with the senior discounts. It's been you've done a great job reaching out. My parents have lived in Agoura Hills for 40 years and obviously they haven't been seniors that whole time, but they've been seniors for half that time, and they have no idea. You know, they're not on social media. They're not going to read, you know, the ads in the Acorn. I think putting it in a rate increase letter is probably one of the few things they do read, so I think that's a great idea. And so anything you can do like that to help reach people like my parents would be great, because that's a huge portion of our population who is on a fixed income. So with that, thank you for everything. Thank you, staff. Thank you, subcommittee, and I'm ready to move forward on this.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Anstead.
I think the first thing I want to say actually is I want to thank Waste Management for their great service to our residents. I mean, I think 99.99% of our population likes your service. There's not very little complaints, if any. And so I think that's fantastic. And so you're providing a great service at a reasonable cost to our residents, and we have a nice contract in place, I think, that ensures that it's a reasonable contract and for both sides. And so I think that's great. The one thing that I want to say before I get to the juxt of it is the retroactive part of it bothers me a little bit. So the reason why I say that is the residents are going to get hit with this bill that they're going to all of a sudden, they're going to automatically think that it is going to be, even whatever words you might put in there, they're going to initially, the shock of it it is going to be a little bit more of a shock because it'll be 3 or 4 months in arrears that we're going to be putting on their bill, on that one bill. And so my statement to Waste Management and also to the city is that we need to start this process earlier next year to make sure that we don't have to have a retroactive going forward next year. At least that's my feeling, and I would like to try to avoid it going forward. But I think the 3% CPI is reasonable, and the majority of our residents are not even going to see that 3% for the residential residents that are getting that first service. So I think that that's great as well. And then I think the 2% increase is obviously reasonable if you're having a 5% increase on your side for the waste management fees. And those fees are also determined not by you, but they're at least agreed to by the county of Ventura. So I feel like that's a reasonable request, and I think our 2% kind of coming up with the 2% along with some additional things on the organic waste is reasonable as well. So I can make the findings and move forward with the proposal.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. First of all, full disclosure, I have toured your landfill in Simi. I went to Sun Valley to see the organics recycling, and I think it was Oxnard. We went to, yes, Agroman as well. So I have seen all the facilities you use, and I was very impressed with your programs and the way that you are trying to help improve our environment. So thank you for that. I agree with my fellow council members that there is a CPI increase due for you, and also I'm comfortable with the 2% for the SWRA. My one plea again is that, you know, we have to say it over and over and over again to our residents in as many ways as possible, how to do the organics recycling properly, and, you know, to let our seniors know that there is help for them. So I can make the findings. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. I don't have a lot to add, just to respond that one of the reasons that we agreed to a 2% SWRA increase was because of the good work that you do, and we felt that that was reasonable, and that on top of the cost of living increase, that it works well for you as well as our residents. So other than that, if there's no other comments from anybody, I would look for a motion and a second to approve the two staff recommendations. The first one is the City Council receive and file the report for the solid waste rate escalation increase, 3%, for residential solid waste services for 2024. And 2, review the recommendations of the Public Works Subcommittee and provide direction to staff on the additional solid waste rate adjustment request being submitted by Waste Management. And what I'm hearing is the recommendation is to go along with the subcommittee that there would be a 2% SWRA increase, as well as there was 5 or 6 report back requirements that we wanted. So can I get a motion and a second?
I'll motion to approve. Deborah Klein-Lopez.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester seconds.
Thank you. And I'll defer to Madam Clerk for a roll call vote.
Councilmember Anstead?
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber, you have approval 5-0.
Thank you so much. We'll now move on to council and staff comments. Are there any comments from staff? None?
Just a reminder to our residents to go to our website, and we do have a home hardening grant. Right now, we currently have had 6 residents who have participated and been reimbursed. To let the council know, I just signed off on another agreement that's in Nate Hamburger's, our city manager's in basket. So we're going to have 2 more folks that are pending project completion. There is still grant money available. Information is available on our website. Maybe we'll put out something on the main page that links them to that main page. But we want our residents to participate in a home hardening grant. It is a $1,000 reimbursement grant to implement some of the things that come off of the Resource Conservation District of Santa Monica Mountains home ignition report. So we encourage people to participate. There is still grant funding available. If they have any questions, they can call me here at City Hall.
Thank you.
Can I ask one question about that?
Go ahead.
If RMG or somebody's around with a video camera, I would love if any of those residents would be willing to, make some kind of statement or video. Maybe they have a before picture or an after, just to see what's going on. I think it ties in a lot with insurance and all of the things going on. I mean, I would just love some testimonials, maybe from the two going forward, if they're game for that.
Staff be more than happy to reach out and see if anyone would be willing to do that.
Thank you for that. Any comments from City Council? Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester.
I would just like to remind everybody that on April the 4th, there's going to be a virtual town hall meeting to discuss wildfires and homeowners insurance. Ricardo Lara will be on the town hall with Jackie Irwin. So I encourage our residents to tune in. The link, I believe our city has sent out flyers electronically so that the link to the virtual town hall is on there. So please come.
Thank you for that. Any other comments from Council? Councilmember Lopez.
And following up on that, also want to remind the public that on April 11th, there's going to be a wildlife crossing community workshop for the traffic implications that are going to happen when the 101 shuts down on one side of the freeway at a time overnight. So I want to thank the city staff for working with Caltrans and National Wildlife Federation for, the use of our room, our community room for that. I think it's a community room, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the community room. And thank you for making all of the communications graphics that we'll be blasting out. And I'm expecting that we'll get a good crowd for that. So thank you, and for helping to spread the word about that.
Thank you, and I would add especially to our neighboring communities who may not be as focused on the wildlife crossing as the residents of the city of Agoura Hills. Councilmember Wolf, anything?
Yeah, I have something really important. I would like to congratulate the city of Agoura on our victory. Thank you.
What victory, Councilmember?
The victory against our neighboring city in a very competitive cornhole game. There was some misreporting in the local newspaper regarding the score, but we came out on top, and I want to congratulate our city and staff on this huge victory. So thank you.
Thank you. And you know how competitive we are, so it's a big win. Thank you. If nobody else has any, I just wanted to say that spring is here, or it's coming very quickly. And one of the things that I love about spring, and I know we've talked about this in the past, that it's one season, one time of the year when so many religions observe special holidays. We have Muslims celebrating Ramadan, we have Hindus celebrating Holi, we have Christians celebrating Easter, we have Buddhists celebrating Vesak, we have Jews celebrating Passover, we have Sikhs celebrating Vaisakhi, and we have the Baha'i celebrating Nowruz, and all of them talk about being with family, laughter, colors, colors of spring, flowers, festive meals, some sort of tzedakah or prayer or charity. And it is actually a time of year that we should all take a moment, in my opinion, and we can actually look at our neighbors and think about what we have in common rather than our differences. So I hope everybody who celebrates spring enjoys it with their family, and Ramadan has already started, and Easter is this weekend. So enjoy, everybody, and take a moment to see what we all have in common. Thank you. And with that, the next regular City Council meeting is scheduled for 6 p.m. on Wednesday, April 10th, 2024, in the Council Chambers of the Civic Center located at 3001 Ladyface Court, Agoura Hills, California. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you. Uh-oh.